This is like a crazy amount of power for one piece of technology. And this happened to us so fast.
You just launched GPT-5.
A kid born today will never be smarter than AI.
How do we figure out what's real and what's not real?
We haven't put a sex bot avatar in ChatGPT yet.
Superintelligence. What does that actually mean?
This thing is remarkable.
I'm about to interview Sam Altman, the CEO
of OpenAI.
OpenAI.
Reshaping industries.
Dude's a straight up tech lord, let's be honest.
Right now, they're trying to build a superintelligence that could far exceed humans in almost every field. And they just released their most powerful model yet. Just a couple years ago, that would have sounded like science fiction. Not anymore. In fact, they're not alone. We're in the middle of the highest stakes global race any of us have ever seen. Hundreds of billions of dollars and an unbelievable amount of human work. This is a profound moment. Most people never live through a technological shift like this, and it's happening all around you and me right now. So, in this episode, I want to try to time travel with Sam Altman into the future that he's trying to build, to see what it looks like, so that you and I can really understand what's coming. Welcome to Huge Conversations. Great to meet you. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely.
So before we dive in, I'd love to tell you my goal here.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask you about valuation or AI talent wars or fundraising
Thank
or
you.
anything like that. I think that's all very well covered elsewhere.
It does seem like it.
Our big goal on this show is to cover how we can use science and tech to make the future better. And the reason that we do all of that is because we really believe that if people see those better futures, they can then help build them. So my goal here is to try my best to time travel with you into different moments in the future that you're trying to build and see what it looks like.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Starting with what you just announced. You recently said, surprisingly recently, that GPT-4 was the dumbest model any of us will ever have to use again. But GPT-4 can already perform better than 90% of humans at the SAT and the LSAT and the GRE, and it can pass coding exams and sommelier exams and medical licensing. Yeah. And now you just launched GPT-5. What can GPT-5 do that GPT-4 can't?
First of all, one important takeaway is you can have an AI system that can do all those amazing things you just said, and it clearly does not replicate a lot of what humans are good at doing, which I think says something about the value of SAT tests or whatever else. But I think had you gone back to, if we were having this conversation the day of GPT-4 launch and we told you how GPT-4 did at those things, you were like, oh man, this is going to have huge impacts and some negative impacts on what it means for a bunch of jobs or, what people are going to do. And, this is a bunch of positive impacts that you might have predicted that haven't yet come true. And so there's something about the way that these models are good that does not capture a lot of other things that we need people to do or care about people doing. And I suspect that same thing is going to happen again with GPT-5. People are going to be blown away by what it does. It's really good at a lot of things. And then they will find that they want it to do even more. People will use it for all sorts of incredible things. It will transform a lot of knowledge work, a lot of the way we learn, a lot of the way we create. But we, people, society will co-evolve with it to expect more with, better tools. So yeah, I think this model is quite remarkable in many ways, quite limited in others. But the fact that for, 3-minute, 5-minute, 1-hour tasks that like an expert in a field could maybe do or maybe struggle with, that the fact that you have in your pocket one piece of software that can do all of these things is really amazing. I think this is like unprecedented at any point in human history that a technology has improved this much, this fast. And the fact that we have this tool now, we're like living through it and we're kind of adjusting step by step. But if we could go back in time 5 or 10 years and say this thing was coming, we would be like, probably not.
Let's assume that people haven't seen the headlines. What are the top line specific things that you're excited about? And also the things that you seem to be caveating, the things that maybe you won't expect it to do.
The thing that I am most excited about is this is a model for the first time where I feel like I can ask kind of any hard scientific or technical question and get a pretty good answer. And I'll give a fun example, actually. When I was in junior high, or maybe it was 9th grade, I got a TI-83, this old graphing calculator. And I spent so long making this game called Snake. Yeah. It was a very popular game with kids in my school. And I was like pro and it was dumb, but it was like programming on a TI-83 was extremely painful. It took a long time and it was really hard to like debug and whatever. And on a whim, with an early copy of GPT-5, I was like, I wonder if it can make a TI-83 style game of Snake. And of course, it did that perfectly in like 7 seconds. And then I was like, okay, am I supposed to be, would my like 11-year-old self think this was cool or like, miss something from the process? And I had like 3 seconds of wondering like, oh, is this good or bad? And then I immediately said, actually, now I'm missing this game. I have this idea for a crazy new feature. Let me type it in. It implements it. And it just, the game live updates. And now I'm like, actually, I'd like it to look this way. Actually, I'd like to do this thing. And I had this very like kind of, this experience that reminded me of being like 11 in programming again, where I was just like, now I want to try this. Now I have this idea. But I could do it so fast and I could like express ideas and try things and play with things in such real time. I was like, oh man, I was worried for a second about kids like missing the struggle of learning to program in this sort of Stone Age way. And now I'm just thrilled for them because the way that people will be able to create with these new tools, the speed with which you can sort of bring ideas to life, that's pretty amazing. So this idea that GPT-5 can just not only like answer all these hard questions for you, but really create like on-demand, almost instantaneous software. I think that's going to be one of the defining elements of the GPT-5 era in a way that did not exist with GPT-4.
As you're talking about that, I find myself thinking about a concept in weightlifting of time under tension.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, you can squat 100 pounds in 3 seconds or you can squat 100 pounds in 30. You gain a lot more by squatting it in 30. And when I think about our creative process and when I've felt most like I've done my best work, it has required an enormous amount of
you have to sit there and struggle.
Time under tension. And I think that cognitive time under tension is so important. And it's ironic almost because these tools have taken enormous cognitive time under tension to develop. But in some ways, I do think people might say people are using them as a escape hatch for thinking in some ways, maybe. Now, you might say, yeah, but we did that with the calculator and we just moved on to harder math problems. Do you feel like there's something different happening here? How do you think about this?
It's different there are some people who are clearly using ChatGPT not to think. And there are some people who are using it to think more than they ever have before. I am hopeful that we will be able to build the tool in a way that encourages more people to stretch their brain with it a little more and be able to do more. And I think that society is a competitive place. Like if you give people new tools, in theory, maybe people just work less, but in practice, it seems like people work ever harder and the expectations of people just go up. So my guess is that like other tools, some people, or like other pieces of technology, some people will do more and some people will do less. But certainly for the people who want to use ChatGPT to increase their cognitive time under tension, they are really able to. And I take a lot of inspiration from what like the top 5% of most engaged users do with ChatGPT. Like it's really amazing how much people are learning and doing and, outputting.
So I've only had GPT-5 for a couple hours, so I've been playing with it.
What do you think so far?
I'm just learning how to interact with it. I mean, part of the interesting thing is I feel like I just caught up on how to use GPT-4 and now I'm trying to learn how to use GPT-5. I'm curious what the specific tasks that you've found most interesting are, because I imagine you've been using it for a while now.
I have been most impressed by the coding tasks. I mean, there's a lot of other things it's really good at, but this idea of the AI can write software for anything, and that means that you can express ideas in new ways, that the AI can do very advanced things. It can do, it can in some sense, you could ask GPT-4 anything, but because GPT-5 is so good at programming, it feels like it can do anything. Of course, it can't do things in the physical world, but it can get a computer to do very complex things. And software is this super powerful, way to like control some stuff and actually do some things. So that for me has been the most striking. It's much better at writing. So this is like, there's this whole thing of AI slop, like AI writes in this kind of like quite annoying way. And
M dashes.
we still have the M dashes in GPT-5. A lot of people like the M dashes, but the writing quality of GPT-5 is gotten much better. We still have a long way to go. We want to improve it more, but like, a thing we've heard a lot from people inside of OpenAI is that, man, they started using GPT-5. They knew it was better on all the metrics, but there's this like nuanced quality they can't quite articulate. But then when they have to go back to GPT-4 to test something, it feels terrible. And I don't know exactly what the cause of that is, but I suspect part of it is the writing feels so much more natural and better.
I, in preparation for this interview, reached out to a couple other leaders in AI and technology and gathered a couple questions for you.
Okay.
So this next question is from Stripe CEO Patrick Collison.
This will be a good one, I'm sure.
To read this verbatim. It's about the next stage, what comes after GPT-5. In which year do you think a large language model will make a significant scientific discovery? And what's missing such that it hasn't happened yet? He caveated here that we should leave math and special case models like AlphaFold aside. He's specifically asking about fully general purpose models like the GPT series.
I would say most people will agree that happens at some point over the next 2 years, but the definition of significant matters a lot. And so some people's significant might happen, in early 25. Some people might, maybe not until late 2026. Sorry, early 2026. Maybe some people not until late 2027. But I would bet that by late 27, most people agree that there has been an AI-driven significant new discovery. And the thing that I think is missing is just the kind of cognitive power of these models. A framework that one of the researchers said to me that I really liked is, a year ago, we could do well on like a basic high school math competition, problems that might take a professional mathematician seconds to a few minutes. We very recently got an IMO gold medal. That is a crazy, difficult,
Could you explain what that means?
That's
for
kind
people?
of like the hardest competition math test. This is something that like the very, very top slice of the world, many, many professional mathematicians wouldn't solve a single problem. And we scored at the top level. Now, there are some humans that got an even higher score in the gold medal range, but we this is a crazy accomplishment. And each of these problems, it's like 6 problems over 9 hours. So 1.5 hours per problem for a great mathematician. So we've gone from a few seconds to a few minutes to 1.5 hours. Maybe to prove a significant new mathematical theorem is like 1,000 hours of work for a top person in the world. So we've got to go from, another significant gain. But if you look at our trajectory, you can say like, okay, we're getting to that. We have a path to get to that time horizon. We just need to keep scaling the models.
The long-term future that you've described is superintelligence. What does that actually mean? And how will we know when we've hit it?
If we had a system that could do better AI research than, say, the whole OpenAI research team. Like if we said, okay, the best way we can use our GPUs is to let this AI decide what experiments we should run. Smarter than like the whole brain trust of OpenAI.
Yeah.
And if to make a personal example, if that same system could do a better job running OpenAI than I could. So you have something that's like, better than the best researchers, better than me at this, better than other people at their jobs, that would feel like superintelligence to me.
That is a sentence that would have sounded like science fiction just a couple of years ago.
It still
and now
kind of does, but you can like see it through the fog.
Yes. And so one of the steps, it sounds like you're saying, on that path is this moment of scientific discovery, of asking better questions, of grappling with things in a way that expert level humans do to come up with new discoveries. One of the things that keeps knocking around in my head is if we were in 1899, say, and we were able to give it all of physics up until that point and play it out a little bit, nothing further than that. Like, at what point would one of these systems come up with general relativity?
Interesting question is, if we think about that forward, like if we think of where we are now, if we never got another piece of physics data, do we expect that a really good superintelligence could just think super hard about our existing data and maybe say like solve high energy physics with no new particle accelerator, or does it need to build a new one and design new experiments? Obviously, we don't know the answer to that. Different people have different speculation. But I suspect we will find that for a lot of science, it's not enough to just think harder about the data we have, but we will need to build new instruments, conduct new experiments, and that will take some time. Like that is the real world is slow and messy and, whatever. So I'm sure we could make some more progress just by thinking harder about the current scientific data we have in the world. But my guess is to make the big progress, we'll also need to build new machines and run new experiments, and there will be some slowdown built into that.
Another way of thinking about this is AI systems now are just incredibly good at answering almost any question. But maybe one of the things we're saying is it's another leap yet. And what Patrick's question is getting at is to ask the better questions.
Or if we go back to this kind of timeline question, we could maybe say that AI systems are superhuman on 1-minute tasks, but a long way to go to the 1,000-hour tasks. And there's a dimension of human intelligence that seems very different than AI systems when it comes to these long horizon tasks. Now, I think we will figure it out, but today it's a real weak point.
We've talked about where we are now with GPT-5. We talked about the end goal or future goal of superintelligence. One of the questions that I have, of course, is what does it look like to walk through the fog between the two? The next question is from NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang. I'm going to read this verbatim. Fact is what is. Truth is what it means. So facts are objective. Truths are personal. They depend on perspective, culture, values, beliefs, context. One AI can learn and know the facts, but how does one AI know the truth for everyone in every country and every background?
I'm going to accept as axioms those definitions. I'm not sure if I agree with them, but in the interest of time, I will just take them. I will take those definitions and go with it. I have been surprised. I think many other people have been surprised too about how fluent AI is at adapting to different cultural contexts and individuals. One of my favorite features that we have ever launched in ChatGPT is the sort of enhanced memory that came out earlier this year. Like it really feels like my ChatGPT gets to know me and what I care about and like my life experiences and background and the things that have led me to where they are. A friend of mine recently, who's been a huge ChatGPT user, so he's got he's put a lot of his life into all these conversations. He gave his ChatGPT a bunch of personality tests and asked them to answer as if they were him, and it got the same score as he actually got, even though he'd never really talked about his personality. And my ChatGPT has really learned over the years of me talking to it about my culture, my values, my life, and I have used. I sometimes will use it in like, I'll use like a free account just to see what it's like without any of my history. And it feels really, really different. So yeah, I think we've all been surprised on the upside of how good AI is at learning this and adapting.
And so do you envision in many different parts of the world, people using different AIs with different sort of cultural norms and contexts? Is that what we're saying?
I think that everyone will use like the same fundamental model, but there will be context provided to that model that will make it behave in sort of personalized way they want, their community wants, whatever.
I think when we're getting at this idea of facts and truth, and it brings me to, this seems like a good moment for our first time travel trip. Okay, we're going to 2030. This is a serious question, but I want to ask it with a lighthearted example. Have you seen the bunnies that are jumping on the trampoline?
Yes.
So for those who haven't seen it, maybe, it looks like backyard footage of bunnies enjoying jumping on a trampoline. And this has gone incredibly viral recently. There's a human-made song about it. It's a whole thing.
There were bunnies that were jumping on a trampoline.
And I think the reason why people reacted so strongly to it, it was maybe the first time people saw a video, enjoyed it, and then later found out that it was completely AI generated. In this time travel trip, if we imagine in 2030, we are teenagers and we're scrolling whatever teenagers are scrolling in 2030, how do we figure out what's real and what's not real?
I mean, I can give all sorts of literal answers to that question. We could be cryptographically signing stuff and we could decide who we trust their signature if they actually filmed something or not. But my sense is what's going to happen is it's just going to like gradually converge. Even like a photo you take out of your iPhone today, it's like mostly real, but it's a little not. There's like it's some AI thing running there in a way you don't understand and making it look like a little bit better. And sometimes you see these weird things where
the moon.
Yeah. But there's like a lot of processing power between the photons captured by that camera sensor and the image you eventually see. And you've decided it's real enough, or most people decided it's real enough. But we've accepted some gradual move from when it was like photons hitting the film in a camera. And, you know, if you go look at some video on TikTok, there's probably all sorts of video editing tools being used to make it better than reality. Look back. Yeah, exactly. Or it's just like, you know, whole scenes are completely generated, or some of the whole videos are generated, like those bunnies on that trampoline. And I think that the sort of like the threshold for how real does it have to be to consider to be real will just keep moving.
So it's sort of an education question. It's people will.
Yeah, I mean, media is always like a little bit real and a little bit not real. Like, you know, we watch like a sci-fi movie. We know that didn't really happen. You watch like someone's like beautiful photo of themselves on vacation on Instagram. Like, okay, maybe that photo was like literally taken, but you know, there's like tons of tourists in line for the same photo and that's like left out of it. And I think we just accept that. Now, certainly a higher percentage of media both will feel not real. But I think that's been the long-term trend anyway.
We're going to jump again.
Okay.
2035. We're graduating from college, you and me. There are some leaders in the AI space that have said that in 5 years, half of the entry-level white-collar workforce will be replaced by AI. So we're college graduates in 5 years. What do you hope the world looks like for us? I think there's been a lot of talk about how AI might cause job displacement, but I'm also curious. I have a job that nobody would have thought we could have, you know,
Totally.
a decade ago. What are the things that we could look ahead if we're thinking about
I mean, in
being college
2035,
graduates?
that like graduating college student, if they still go to college at all, could very well be like leaving on a mission to explore the solar system on a spaceship in some kind of completely new, exciting, super well-paid, super interesting job, and feeling so bad for you and I that like we had to do this kind of like really boring old kind of work and everything is just better. Like I 10 years feels very hard to imagine at this point.
Because it's too far.
It's too far. Like if you compound the current rate of change for 10 more years, it's
I might
probably
need to
something we
change
can't
my
even.
time travel trips.
10 years, like, I mean, I think now would be really hard to imagine 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think 10 years forward will be even much harder, much more different.
So let's make it 5 years. We're still going to 2030. I'm curious what you think the pretty short-term impacts of this will be for young people. I mean, these like half of entry-level jobs replaced by AI makes it sound like a very different world that they would be entering than the one that I did.
I think it's totally true that some classes of jobs will totally go away. This always happens, and young people are the best at adapting to this. I'm more worried about what it means, not for the like 22-year-old, but for the 62-year-old that doesn't want to go retrain or reskill or whatever the politicians call it that no one actually wants but politicians in most of the time. If I were 22 right now and graduating college, I would feel like the luckiest kid in all of history.
Why?
Because there's never been a more amazing time to go create something totally new, to go invent something, to start a company, whatever it is. I think it is probably possible now to start a company that is a one-person company that will go on to be worth like more than $1 billion. And more importantly than that, deliver an amazing product and service to the world. And that is like a crazy thing. You have access to tools that can let you do what used to take teams of hundreds. And you just have to like, you know, learn how to use these tools and come up with a great idea. And it's like quite amazing.
If we take a step back, I think the most important thing that this audience could hear from you on this optimistic show is in two parts. First, there's